Rassie Erasmus hasn't publicly said anything about the All Blacks' discipline this week. No comment on their breakdown work, no dig at their technique, nothing on record. And yet somehow, by Thursday, the entire conversation heading into Ellis Park was about exactly that. He didn't need to say anything. Someone else did it for him. Here's the thing about Test Week in rugby right now. Most fans think the game gets decided on Saturday. In reality, a lot of it gets decided in the days before, in press conferences, in video rooms, in what coaches choose to submit and what they choose to say out loud. And this week, that quiet battle has been unusually loud. So let's start with the part most people don't know about. Under the current World Rugby Protocol, coaches can submit up to 6 video clips to the match officials before a test. Just 6. With no agreed pre-match meeting between the coaches and Carly, the formal route was the clip submission process. And that makes what happened next even more interesting. On Tuesday, Springbok assistant coach Felix Jones stood in front of the media and did something you don't see very often 3 days out from a test like this. He got specific. Jones explained that South Africa's coaching staff had pulled together feedback from the Stormers, the Sharks, and the Bulls, the 3 franchises that had just faced the touring All Blacks. And a couple of things, he said, kept coming up. A few things around the breakdown. They experienced tucked shoulders going into the breakdown, which I know they weren't really happy with. Reverse arm, non-wrapping action. That was a consistent theme. He also flagged the driving maul, an area where South African sides had created chances close to the New Zealand line but struggled to finish them off. Now, on its own, this isn't unusual. Every top team studies its opponent. Every analyst flags patterns. That's the job. But the way Jones laid it out, naming specific techniques, tying it directly to 3 different franchises, saying it out loud on camera days before kickoff, that is unusually specific for a public pre-test briefing. And it didn't take long for New Zealand to respond. Dave Rennie, naming his team for Saturday, was asked about it directly. And his answer told you a lot, not because of what he revealed, but because of how carefully he chose to say it. We sent in clips of concerns that we've got. I'm sure they've done the same thing. So far, nothing unusual. Teams flag concerns to officials all the time. But then came the part that actually mattered. I'm not sure why they're trying to air that stuff in the media. I've got no plans on sharing any of the clips that we've sent in. Sit with that for a second. New Zealand submitted their own concerns too. We know that now. But they kept theirs private, through the proper channels, no press conference, no naming specific incidents. South Africa didn't. He wasn't finished there, either. Pushed further on the specific incidents Jones had raised, Rennie went through them one by one, treating each as a closed case rather than an open pattern. I think Felix was pointing out a handful of things around. You know, we're clawing a leg. We did that once, got penalized. We threw a guy across the line out once, got penalized. We were pulling at the back of the maul, got penalized and sin-binned. In other words, his argument is simple. Yes, those things happened. Yes, the officials caught them. And according to Rennie, his team adjusted, and discipline was already sharper by the time they closed out their tour matches. So here's where the story actually gets interesting. New Zealand kept their concerns private. South Africa didn't. Both teams are playing the same World Rugby system, submitting clips through the same 6-clip process, but only one of them chose to take it public. Why? There are a few honest explanations, and it's worth going through all of them before jumping to conclusions. The first is the simplest. Felix Jones might just be doing exactly what an opposition analyst is supposed to do. Gathering feedback from 3 franchises, identifying a pattern, and putting those observations into the public conversation. Nothing more complicated than that. The second is about the referee. By putting these specific techniques into the public conversation before kickoff, South Africa may be making sure Carly is watching those exact moments from the opening whistle rather than needing to catch them cold in real time. The third is about the players themselves. Every All Black heading into Saturday now knows precisely which actions are under a microscope. Whether that changes anything in the moment, nobody can say for certain. But it's now sitting in the back of their minds before they've even taken the field. And that's where the bigger question comes in. Because this is exactly the kind of thing Rassie Erasmus has built a reputation for. Not always saying the provocative thing himself, but making sure the conversation shifts in South Africa's favor before a ball is even kicked. So was Felix Jones speaking entirely for himself, doing his job as an analyst? laying out what 3 franchises genuinely experienced? Or was this Rassie's usual approach, just delivered through someone else's voice this time? There's no evidence either way. Erasmus hasn't been quoted on this at all, and that's exactly what makes the question so interesting. If this really is a coordinated strategy, it's one where the man usually associated with mind games never had to put his own name on it. But whatever was happening off the field, Saturday will expose whether any of it actually matters. Rennie has his own challenge to manage, and it's bigger than one press conference. New Zealand arrive at Ellis Park having lost 5 of their last 6 meetings with the Springboks, including a record defeat at home in Wellington. This is Rennie's first test in charge against South Africa, and he knows exactly what he's walking into. I think belief is a massive part of it. We're going to Ellis Park to play the Springboks. It's almost their mecca. But we're really excited by the challenge, and being here for 3 weeks, we've had good prep. Worth noting, the record at this specific ground isn't as one-sided as the Mecca label suggests. New Zealand have actually won 3 of their last 5 visits to Ellis Park. So this isn't a venue they fear blindly. It's a venue they respect, and one they've had some success at, even while losing the wider rivalry in recent years. Still, Rennie was blunt about what it will take on Saturday. We know we're going to have to be at our best. We know we're going to have to be disciplined, so we don't give them easy entry into our 22. And we have to be really accurate. He also pointed to the aerial battle as one of the key moments to watch. They've got an excellent team, and certainly we expect a lot of aerial attack. And if we can defuse that, that will give us some opportunity to attack. That could end up being one of the defining moments of the entire match. South Africa testing New Zealand in the air, New Zealand trying to turn those contests into something they can counterattack from. And Rennie made one more thing clear. This won't be a game where his team gets to play exactly the rugby they want, all match long. There'll be times when it's an arm wrestle, and you have to dig in. We want to play when it's on to play, but we know we're going to have to bear up for a big chunk of this test footy, and we know the Springboks will ask a lot of us. His final message before Saturday summed it up simply. We're going to have to really empty out the tank. Maybe Felix Jones was simply doing his job. Maybe Rassie had nothing to do with it. But either way, Rassie never had to say a word, and the conversation before Ellis Park has already changed. So what do you think? Was Felix Jones speaking entirely for himself, simply doing his job, and putting 3 franchises' concerns on the record? Or did he say exactly what Rassie Erasmus didn't need to say himself? Because if Saturday turns into a game where the breakdown, discipline, and aerial battle become decisive, then this week might look very different in hindsight. And that's what makes this rivalry so fascinating. Sometimes the biggest messages aren't the ones shouted from the podium. Sometimes they're the ones delivered quietly, through someone else's voice. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more Springboks news, analysis, and the stories happening behind the headlines, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And let me know in the comments. Was Felix Jones simply doing his job, or was this classic Rassie mind games? I'll see you in the next one.